This is Fan Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Cigdem Oztabak. I hope I didn't mess up your name, but this is the first time we're talking to you, and you are a tech journalist,
It's good.
and you are talking about breaking barriers, empowering women in technology and finance, and you're a founder at the company. We have the link up there. Is that like Pyrex.co is the name of the company? Okay,
Yes,
yeah, and so
exactly.
people will be able to click on that link. We have it up there for those of you listening.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so for those of you listening, that we got the link up is www.pyrix.co, Pirix.co, and we'll start talking about um, your breaking barriers. So we're gonna have to pull that title up so people can see that. So this is gonna be the focus of the actual episode. Um, so, breaking barriers, empowering women in technology and finance. And maybe you want to talk about how you got into what you do in terms of, yeah, if you want to start with that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for having me today. And maybe I can start talking about a little bit myself. And I'm an immigrant entrepreneur and journalist, and I had like some impact on product marketing and B2B marketing, PR, fintech, and technology reporting in maybe 18 years. And I also actively contribute as a startup mentor and jury in New Hub Incubation, startup incubation in EMEA region. And I ran my venture, Perix.co, as you said, the like Perix, the founder as a service for helping technology startups and enterprises with their marketing and PR. And I'm telling this is content product fit strategies. And also I'm an extraordinary ability marketing talent or one visa holder in US. I'm originally from Istanbul, and I'm living in US last 2.5 years. And I can say, and especially via CNN Turk, and I've been technology reporter for CNN Turk and contributing reporting for Cointelegraph. My aim is like it's increase in technology and finance literacy in Turkey, basically. And also, I took responsibility for translating and Kevin Ovochki's book into Turkish, like which is Green Pill can like crypto regenerate the world, and how this new financial technologies can affecting world
So that's really
basically.
great that you've been able to be a journalist and be working in startups. How do you leverage your expertise with storytelling and marketing to create these meaningful PR strategies?
Yeah, it is a really good question because if you want to tell stories, and you need to know like what are you talking about, like what kind of product, and who will buy this product, and what is your audience, and a lot of dimension affecting your storytelling. And also um, you need to know like some marketing nuance. What I mean, like some components, but like with not a cheap way, like not clickbait, or like you need to tell your product stories like with sophisticated. And yeah, it's I'm writing and maybe is like last 10 years on the different media outlets, and it's giving me like a lot of experience. And also I'm usually doing like interviewing reporting, and I'm learning from other people a lot actually, because I'm talking with founders and leaders and marketers, and I'm also learning from them and how they're um, telling their stories. It's important to listen to
Yeah, we
other
had a guy,
experiences
a
also.
writer on yesterday, a Hollywood writer that's also involved with AI and ChatGPT. Um, and what was the story there was he, as a writer, he said that what he found is like 80% of people's day is spent storytelling in some way. And as a writer, he does these workshops to try to teach people how to write better. And he was like, what we were talking about yesterday was how to actually take people who are uncomfortable with storytelling and use Chat GPT to do enhanced storytelling, to like use that to kind of instigate creativity among people maybe who aren't naturally that creative. Like I'm a writer, I'm a business analyst, I'm a producer, I'm a musician. So I have a creative kind of spark that kind of comes natural to me. But a lot of people that don't have that, they need a mentor or they need somebody to help them with that. So it seems like a part of your job with startups is to be able to, be able to give that elevator pitch, to be able to show people how to tell their story and how to make it meaningful, so it isn't clickbait, it isn't something that like people are going to pass over, it actually connects.
Yeah, exactly. And people have a talent, but like some a lot of people actually, they don't know how they use their talent. And like ChatGPT tools, and like they giving to other people like some tool, like it's a like a second brain, and like can teach also, you can working on it, and you can create like amazing things. And writers also, always they are teaching like how we write better. And now like it's right now is they're also teaching like how
Hmm.
can you enter better prompts on ChatGPT, because it's really valuable. But if you can put also like your experience, your point of view, and um, basically your unique some like thinking of way to with ChatGPT, it can be really like better solution for your product, your
Yeah,
storytelling,
because as a
your
as a
marketing
writer
strategy
myself,
as well.
we have a lot of tools for as musicians. Like I can use a sampler and I could be lazy and just grab something that I knew was a top 10 hit. I could grab a minute of something that already existed and it sold a million or 100
Yeah,
million records. And I know that that probably is going to connect because it has a history. People use that groove and it created that thing. But then to me, in some
exactly.
ways, what I'd rather do is maybe invert that and radically change it. Use it as the beginning point, but not be lazy and use the entire thing. Like use it and then use my own sense of creativity that inspired me to take that. But it was almost unrecognizable. People wouldn't actually know that I took it, that I actually used it to spark my own creativity. And that's why I think that's where the levels are of like some people take something and they don't really insert their own creativity. They use maybe 90% of what the prompt gave them rather than taking 10% of what the prompt gave them and then using it to inspire them. They take all of it. And I think that's where the kind of the people have to learn how to leverage it and not do the easy thing. Yeah, do a little bit more work.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as always. And I'm recently exploring as a like some term, and also I'm trying to definition a new term like a product content fit to monetizing your product. What does it mean? If you are like, if you want to go event, you need content, and if you want to like brand awareness, also you need content. And you basically like you need content, your marketing strategy, customer approach, like a lot of with a lot of way. And like the content doesn't meaning just only SEO, right? And I'm exploring recently like product content and monetizing fit approach, like goes beyond just understanding its concept, uh, like um, between content and product. Like this approach basically emphasizes the importance of like ensuring that the content created and shared by a startup or a founder is in line with the offerings and like values of their product
Hmm.
or services. And I think this is more important thing if you can like combine your marketing experiences or and
Yeah, because
writing
you got to
skills.
create like something that's authentic, that actually kind of mirrors your brand. You don't want somebody to get like your advertising doesn't match your product. If there's a disconnect between your marketing and what you're actually offering, and somehow it's not really showing the value, right? It's not really showing why somebody needs it. It's using maybe some things that are there's a disconnect. So I think what it seems like to me is it's the same thing with art. Like if there's a it's just a copy, well, somebody might just go listen to Taylor Swift rather than a copy of Taylor Swift. So why would you listen to a copy when you could go to the original? What's the point? So what you have to show that you're offering something that is different enough and adds value enough that there's a reason for you to do it, or you just go to the national brand. Why would you even look at somebody new if it's just doing the same thing, unless it has a better proposition?
Yeah, yeah, it's makes sense. And like if you're an entrepreneur and like founders, and you need to like understand how to align your content and with your products effectively, as you say. And like it's being sophisticated and like authentic, and also you need to tell like it's a really basic way. And I'm trying to do in my venture and with Pyrrhix like this approach. Entrepreneurs can create a like powerful and how can I say like influential online presence and like a loyal customer base. And like it can be drive it can drive sustainable growth in like technology and finance era, in my
Yeah, and one of the
opinion.
things you're also doing is gender equality and women empowerment, and I believe that it's a big issue today in today's world. Even in the United States, there's kind of been some backsliding with equality. There's some people who look at it as, oh well, we're giving preference to certain groups, and then other people would say, well, there's certain groups like women and other, and ethnic minorities that don't get the opportunity in the boardroom. If you look at a lot of boardrooms, it doesn't look like the world. It looks like a lot of male, dominated points of view, and it's not allowing women to get to that high level C suite, right? And then what happens is there's a lot of ideas that people have from different perspectives. So if you have a female perspective, you might connect with a different market than if you have a male centered perspective. They have their own opinion of what maybe women want, and a woman might be closer to what women really want. But they might say, well, it's not suited for this person to have this role because of history. For the last 100 years, they haven't seen anybody in that role. And so you have to try to show to these business people there's a reason why you want a diverse board of directors, that you want a diverse C-suite, because you're going to reach new markets. So I would think, like, what's your like strategy for women empowerment?
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I can say like it's like this is a industry's like historical dominance by men. Like for example, one of the barriers I have recently and in my career faced um, like the belief or bias that women are not as technically skilled or knowledgeable about finance. And yeah, this bias can create doubt and like some skepticism about women abilities in this era. And yeah, I can say like it's we used to this challenge as a woman, and but this challenge as opportunities to like learn, adapt, and empower others to break these barriers. And mm, what can I done like to empower more women, and what am I doing like enter and succeed in these fields. And yeah, it's crucial to I think promote the mentorship programs, and it's important, and provide like learning opportunities, and like offer to help, and foster and like inclusive culture, I can say. Like also celebrating, it's really important, celebrating people success stories, women success stories can also inspire and motivate to others. And I'm doing like all of this, I can say. And women are increasingly taking on like significant roles in the field of technology. Maybe last 5 years, we are seeing like more important roles by women in technology and finance. It's crucial for women to visible and like assume like important um,
Yeah, because you want women, like
responsibilities.
I'm a business system analyst, and I've been a project manager. But what I think it needs to happen is, I work with directors, I work with vice presidents, I work with CIOs, work with CEOs, I work guys in the boardroom,
Mhm.
business owners of divisions. And a lot of times those roles are like all men. And you'll see, the project manager is a woman,
Mhm.
but the director is a guy, right? The CIO is a guy, the CEO is a guy. Mostly, so to me, I think you need to get more people in that C-suite so that you can't just have them at the analyst level and the manager level. They need to get at the level where they actually make the big decisions, like the big strategic decisions that the company's going to make. Because yeah, it's good to get into ground floor as the analyst, as the programmer, as a project manager, but I think you need to get into the room where the decisions are being made that actually affect the direction of the company, right?
Yeah. Exactly, and I think what do you mean? Like, is in the realm of C-suites roles? I think like there are a lot of factors that contribute to these differences in like representation, I can say, between women and men. For example, like workplace culture and policies, and some company policies, as I know, like they want to hit specific numbers of women leaders, for example. And also like organizational cultures, like that favor traditional and hierarchical structures, And yeah, it's like it's or have they gender bias policies and can hinder women's advancements, I can say. And the other in the other way, in gender biases and stereotypes, right? And like it's these biases may create barriers for women aspiring to C-suite positions as well.
Yeah, because you have a
And
bias that a woman.
like
Yeah,
couple of factors like his confidence,
yeah. I
and
mean, there's a
more like it's
personality kind
about
of
personality.
prototype. The prototype is like, if like the CEO is going to live and breathe, the CIO, the director level guys, they, well, if a woman has kids, or if they get pregnant, or they have, they think they're not going to be committed. That's like a gender bias, saying that that person, well, the CEO is married, the guy, he's got kids. What's the issue? Like, people have families. Like, you're saying this person can't do the job because they have kids. Well, these other people, they have kids too. So why do you have this bias? It's not logical, but it's more hierarchical. It's because that's what they think. That's what they've been taught. That's what their grandparents told them. That's what everybody else in the boardroom tells them. So they just continue to perpetuate. And it's the same thing if you think about, I don't see a lot of people look like me. Like, I work in IT, I work with Fortune 500 companies as an analyst, as a consultant, and I've been able to be a manager, kind of hit a wall where I could be a project manager. I haven't been able to get to the director level. And when I look at the director level, I don't really see a lot of people look like me at all, right? Even at my analyst level, I don't see a lot of people look like me. And so I totally understand your 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 um your empowerment issues, because it's kind of across the board in industries, in tech. There tends to be this kind of thing where everybody's got to be like a Bill Gates, or they got to be like Elon Musk. They got to be like Steve Jobs. That's the prototype. Where are the women in that uh, list I just gave? Where are the famous women from these big tech companies that have been elevated in the media or in the news, that people can look to as a young woman or a young minority? Like, where's somebody that's equals the name recognition of Steve Jobs, or Bill Gates, or Elon Musk?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, is it all the big tech giants, but we have also, like we know, is a lot of successful female entrepreneur around. Like for example, Canva. And Canva is a design platform, and it's make easier like with your design and creating content. It's like amazing platform and billion-dollar company at the moment. And like a female founder and female CEO. I like Bumble also, like a dating app. It went like really competitive, and also like CEO is a female, and a lot of successful personality in woman in the tech industry also. Sometimes they're just like b-roll supporting roles, and sometimes like significant c-suite roles. And also like I want to mention like the different nuance, and which is like social anthropology, because like everything is about this, everything about with this uh social anthropology, because like it's a cultural, social, and are all historical aspects with women and man. And we are creating together like human societies, and like
Mhm.
with our roles and our with our dynamics of gender, right? And it is important always, um, like if you are thinking like roles, some roles are in the some organizations, and like some biases and like norms, cultural norms, like power dynamics, and like everything in the job culture is coming from our
Overall
really
culture, yeah.
like is a history and human history. Like it's about, yeah, exactly. And also the same thing for marketing and um, communication strategy. I can say you need to like first look like really like social anthropology. You need to understand like sociology and social anthropology if you are working, if you want working with marketing, communication, and product marketing, tech, and even in like finance and finance marketing, I can say. And always like we need to remember like our like roles in all the human societies is coming from like
Yeah, definitely.
historical aspects.
When I went to college, like I'm in IT, I'm a business analyst since 1993. But my major, I was not a comp sci major. I was a sociology and government legal studies double major. I'm a liberal arts. I went through the Socratic method from a college called Bowdoin College, which is like one of the top 10 colleges. But it's not the typical IT background. But that's why I'm a business system analyst. My role is I translate what the programmers do to what the C-suite. I go to the business owners and I come up with the user story. I come up with the use case. I come up with the workflow diagrams and the UI designs because I can talk to the people in the C-suite, but I also know how to talk to the programmers. Even though I didn't know how to code, I did code for fun. I That was a hobby. I became a programmer as a hobbyist. I never got trained, but I came from a kind of liberal arts point of view where I asked like holistic questions. I asked like, why do you want to do this? What are the other options? I don't get into just the logic. I don't get and say, well, oh, I only know COBOL. It's like we could do this with blockchain, we could do it with .NET, we could do it with this. I don't care about the program. I look at what the problem is and try to solve it from that kind of holistic Socratic method, which is a different skill set. But a lot of times in IT, people don't think that somebody like that is actually necessary. And I think that's a mistake because it's the same kind of diversification mistake where women aren't being included. You think people who only have a tech background, who only have a math and science background, you don't consider the fact that somebody with who's an English major or a sociology major can actually add value to what you're doing.
I agree with you. And if we can go back and take a look, like really long time ago, like an ancient Greek education system, it's they had an education system like it's what are you trying to explain your education like with stands of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and like they're like addressing also like gender bias in management and workplace settings, I can say. And and it combine like art history and psychology because it's crucial in understand human psychology in business life also, because um, you need manage your communication with other colleagues, like your manager, maybe your team, like woman, man, like different gender. It's crucial, like you can be able to read like human psychology also if you are working on like marketing, communication, like content creating, like writing. And also it's important to create strategy understanding like human psychology, and it is important to like combine these educations, these fields, and with your skills. And it's better also women for all of this, so like they can communicate better, and they can like manage better, they can express themselves better to all the sector, and what are they
Yeah, I
working
think what
on it,
happens is that
I
people
can
get,
say.
narrow minded. Like what I see happens is people get into lanes. if you have a mathematician or you have a programmer who's totally logical, and I was having a conversation on something, an example that we had a process, and the user kind of needs a wizard to tell them what steps to go along with. And so when they initially had this process we built, we had this wizard that kind of guided them through doing this task. And then post issue over this process, um, they didn't have a way to correct anything. And I said, well, we've got to provide the customer with a way to go back into this workflow, and they forgot something. So they got to go back in and they got to fix it. And so the programmer said, well, we don't need the wizard. They can just go in and fix whatever they need to fix. And I said, well, they're not going to know where they need to go. Like the programmer just didn't want to do the work because it was a lot of work. And I said, the customer is not going to understand which way to go. They're not going to know the steps without the wizard. So I fought to have the wizard in the post correction process. And I had to fight really hard because they kept on coming to the meetings and saying, oh, we don't need that. But they wouldn't take the point of view that the customer wouldn't know how to do it. Like they don't know which way to go. So you need to pull the wizard in, but they just said, well, it's there. So they'll figure it out. And I said, no, they won't. And so I think that's the kind of perspective, like I'm an artist. So I had like this artist perspective, and I'm more of a creative type of person. I didn't just look at, oh yeah, those tools exist, but they don't have, nobody knows how to use those unless they're familiar with it, and most people are not familiar. So you need the wizard. And I think that's the kind of example where you get people who are in this narrow lane, and they say, well, yeah, they don't need it because they don't put themselves in the shoes of the other person.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I can recommend at this point, like, what you put in this conversation. I watched one documentary about it, like, She Started It. The documentary name is She Started It. And also, I can recommend it, like, Code Debugging the Gender Gap. And it's focusing, like, the diverse thing in, like, technology and finance sector. And also, it's good to sometimes watch or read about, like, women in science, for example, or like and there was a different documentary. I'm trying to remember right now. I think it's a picture a scientist, also, like, it's focusing women scientists, like, how they faces some barriers. And yeah, it's really good to read sometimes or watch about other people stories, and you can get a, like, inspire, and you can also improve your skills. I believe this, because if you are seeing like, it's in this stories some problems, also you can think about it, like, how would I solve these problems? And it's really important, like, improve your critical thinking and problem solving, and I think also
Yeah, I
analytical
think like
skills.
having, all the points of view, because the world is very diverse. Like now, when you create something, you've got users that are in multiple countries. So now, like there's been bias, there's like a gender bias, but there's also like maybe a Western bias versus an Eastern bias, right? So you build a system from a Western perspective, and then you think it's good. And I had this example. I worked in Japan for 2 years, in 2004 to 2006, and I got sent there to build a system. And it was from a company that went, a Western company that went, and a Western insurance company went to Japan and tried to apply the way they do business in the US to the way things are done in Japan. Well, they failed. And part of the reason they failed was because they refused to understand the cultural differences in Japan. You had like a zero defect mentality, and you had this other thing that happened. I pointed out to him when I was there. that if you make an error, I noticed that Japanese companies would actually have a customer error. They would actually go and rent a hall and invite the customers, and then the CEO would apologize to the customers, and they would actually be very, very um, deferential to the customers and actually admit their mistake and actually be apologetic. Where the American companies, like, they don't even have anything like that. They had no concept of that, and we went to that market without understanding that. And even when I was there as an American expat, trying to explain to my U.S. bosses that you have to adjust, we have to adjust to this market because there are different things that are important. And there was a refusal that was kind of like, we're going to force them into our mindset. And so I think that's part of the problem of not, being kind of tone deaf to not only the gender bias, but, cultural biases.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like it's a cultural bias also. Like it's visible in workplace. I know, and I come from a like country that is my country in Turkey, recognized as being part of European and part Middle Eastern, and but I have come to like US based on my past achievements, and US allows me to work here based on my accomplishments. And I think it is important to like break these all of these barriers. And yeah, we need to fight always, and you have responsibility in your life. And it is important to be open, visible, and contribute to like to other people, contribute to other projects, and also contribute like your recognition of your work to succeed in your endeavors, I can say. And you it's
Mhm.
up to you, I can say. I know like it's we are talking about like is equal opportunity, like stereotypes and like organizational cultures and like gender pay gap also. It's really important and controversial topic. Like it's everything is about you, like be open and uh, be visible, try to be visible and contribute to the recognition of your work, I
Now,
can
one of the
say.
things that we've been talking about is like believe that you were pointing out that women have some communication skills that might that to me make them competitive, and also are maybe better suited to certain business scenarios. And then you just mentioned the pay gap. So you might have you have a woman that comes into the workplace and she's better at communicating, but then she does the pay gap. She's actually contributing to this organization and making them successful at communication skills. And then have a pay gap because she's a woman. She doesn't get to pay this other person if this person was a man in the same role to get more money, even though on like the face of it, what she's contributing, the real work being done is just as valuable or more valuable. And so that's a big, I think that's a fight. That's a big challenge to a lot of things to actually get credit for the work you do, regardless of gender, regardless of ethnicity, get paid for the value of what you bring to the table without looking at gender blind, ethnicity blind, you know, just, to say like if I contribute to the to overall profitability of the enterprise and I can show that I did, what is this gap? you know,
Yeah, unfortunately. And I check right now when you're like putting this like really valuable topic. According to data from the World Economic Forum's like global gender gap report, women still earn about 16 percentage less than men
Yeah,
on
that's
average. Yeah, and also as you said, it's depends of it. Yeah, it's changed. Depends of like it's uh like like Hispanic and black people, and also like it's the gender pay gap tends to be more like significant for women of also color. And also like you talking about before, like is motherhood, for example. And yeah,
yeah. Like you're not being
like
taken
despite
seriously.
like
Yeah, I
progress
mean,
in the
I mean, I think it's not fair to treat like there's, how many of these executives are fathers, right? Have kids, but they make these assumptions that they're going to be more dedicated to the role because they'll do 80 hours, 100 hours, 120 hours, and they assume the woman's not going to do that. They assume they're going to get distracted. They're going to go home and they're going to take care of the kids. They're going to do this. They're going to take time off. And you know, I've worked with a lot of women in IT, and I've seen them pull as many hours or more hours than anybody else. So there's an assumption being made that's not necessarily true. They could not consider in the house husband or another partner that's taking up the load like anybody else. Happens because, like, what if they have the C-level job and the partner doesn't? Then they're home. So the other gender's home and they're doing the other role. They're making assumptions that aren't correct. They should look at performance, pay for work. That's why I actually got into consulting, because I found within companies being an African American, I found that when it came time for the employee review, I was always getting the short end of the stick for over 25 years. And in the last 5 years, I went into consulting, and it was more like pay per performance. When I'm a consultant, if I don't do the job, my contract doesn't get renewed. If I don't do the job, I don't get an increase in my rate. If I do the hours, I get paid for the hours I work. So I kind of said, well, that's more of a meritocracy for me. So if I do 100 hours, I get paid for 100 hours. You know, if I do good, I keep on getting renewed. And I said, well, you know what? That's more what I want. Now, I would love the normal, full time job structure to mirror that. But the sad fact is, from what I've experienced and what a lot of people I've dealt with, they're, Hispanic or Latino or Native American, we run into a gap, the same gender gap. We run into that issue where people don't respect what we do. They come in with a point of view and you don't get adequate compensation. So I kind of solved it by being a consultant, which, is my own micro solution, but it's not the overall solution because I would love to be in a company as a full time employee, but I made a decision that that's not working. So I went the other way.
yeah, it's really important to find your path like with like your conditions and your journey. And yeah, I think as we are coming the end, but I can say like it's important to engage, actively engage with other people, like not like just only women or men, like who are interested in like pursuing careers in technology and finance. And sometimes I'm offer mentorship, guidance, and support to help them like navigate the industry and like overcome any barriers we may encounter. And I'm asking also mentorship from like women and men, and this is important, work together because we can get over this gender pay gap or like some differentiation, some barrier, just only communicate with woman to woman. And we can get over it like that. We need to collaborate
Mm,
each other. And also that's why I offer mentorship and guidance too, and also I ask when I need it. And also I'm like really I'm feeling a lot of support from man, as leadership, as my even my boyfriend and like my family. It's when I need, as like as woman, and it is important, and like it's a sense of community and offering encouragement each other.
You feel like there should be
Yeah.
more internships into like leadership programs for women to be able to, like, have internships, mentorships, have people who are coaches, life coaches, and maybe get people, not just women. It's important to have women help other women, but I think it's also important, to put it out there for the men that are in these positions to offer internships and mentorships and life coaching, and actually start stepping into other people's shoes, right? And actually, as a proposition, if you're an executive, maybe you should take some time to have a mentorship program to help women get into the C-suite, right? Actually create an internship or mentorship or life coaching, and take your experiences and show, what and what you've experienced, and try to, teach, be a teacher, be somebody that tries to lift people up, because I think that's very important for people who are in positions to, not just close the door and say, well, I got there all by myself. That I had this Horatio Alger thing and I just did it and I didn't have anybody help me. It's usually not true. Most people who got to these positions had people help them get there. And if they tell that story, like we started with telling stories, anybody who's in that position, they can relay this story about how they got there, and also can do lessons learned on the things they did that maybe were the bumps in the road, and actually can help people avoid it. I think that's very important, regardless, to just, help everybody kind of lift up, so you can have more people have different points of view. It's going to help everything. It's going to move things forward.
Yeah, 100%. And communication is key. Communication of way is key, I can say. I believe that like it's speak louder than words, and openly sharing your journey, both like of success stories and challenge stories, like fail
Yeah,
stories, is
because I think
important
that's
also.
really how people are going to get forward. Is they, like, even if you were one of these guys that prevented people from getting, you can always change. It's never too late to change. So if you were one of these people that was putting up the roadblock, and then you realize that was a mistake, and then you kind of rectify it, by now you're going to help people. That's always good. Like, you don't have to be stuck in your position. You can actually, get to a better place. So for anybody who feels like, well, no one's going to listen to me because I was one of these people that did that, it's like, maybe no, maybe that's the best example of kind of redemption and change, and showing that you can change and grow. That's a good place to start.
Exactly. Like I agree with you, and also like use all the mentorship methods is important. There is like the reverse mentorship and like reverse to mentorship model, like where the younger or less experienced individuals learn
Hmm.
from older, and the opposites. And in this model, for example, like reverse mentoring, and as a young female entrepreneur, or maybe you are working for a company, like you can offer the traditional mentor mentee relationship is like the reverse, and like and roles and experience are exchanged, and it's really valuable. I think it's that kind of relation create
So within like the
relationships.
startup model, like, how do you get more women to be involved in startups? How do you get the financing? Because that might be, we haven't talked about that, but the whole, ecosystem for building a startup is that got the same cultural, anthropological, sociological dynamic where if you're a startup, maybe the bank is not used to a female startup coming to them for the money, or trying to get an investment bank to actually set it up. And if you're not coming from that, that look like the person that normally does that, how does a woman break through that barrier? How do they get those investment banks to actually help them build that?
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it's important to like participate, like startup organizations, even like it's a corporates, um, have like their startup and like spin-off projects and incubations, and it's really important part of that kind of organizations. Also like pitching, and what do you want, what do you need, and what do you want to try to solve, and like pitching to people like how can you do, it's important. And yeah, it's like as we said, like communicate with other people, communicate with LinkedIn,
Hmm.
connect with LinkedIn, and connect maybe with Twitter. And like if you want to ask something, just ask to people, don't wait. And this is really crucial, and all the like successful entrepreneurs and always advising of like the express yourself openly and
Hmm.
on time. Don't wait for anything. If like people are not answering you, this
Yeah.
is not your problem. You just like need to like ask, and you need to take what you need. Just you can do this, no one can
It's
do
like
this for you.
manifestation.
It's good to
Being
be
a
aware
creative
of this.
person, you can't write a song unless you manifest the lyrics and the music. You have to sit down. You can't say, I'm going to think about it. You actually have to sit at the piano and do it. So, or the guitar. So to me, it's the same kind of thing. Where like if I've got an idea for a startup, I go on LinkedIn, I go find advocates, I get somebody to be, to be a supporter. I find somebody, I get a group of people, and I get people to start helping me pitch, and I get some key people because I start talking. I start not just thinking about the dream, but you manifest it with your the group of core supporters that start the crowdfunding, or they start the process, and you get people that vouch for you. They kind of give, they get that key name that gets you in the door so you can talk to the investors. So because they respect this individual. If that individual respects you, then you get through the door. And that is all about being a salesperson for yourself and for your idea. You got to pitch your idea. Is like every artist, we have to pitch our song so that we get it out there, and we have to believe in it. We have to believe that it'll work, or we would never get on the stage. We never get it on Spotify. We don't get it out unless we push. We have to push really hard. And it's not by this thinking about it. You have to do it.
Exactly. And at this point, I can also uh, recommended a book what I read before. Start something that matters. It's the book of name, and you can like find, I think, like a lot of like online marketplace. And I think is the author is Blake. Uh, Sorry about my pronunciation, Maikovsky. It's something
Mm.
like that. Start something that
Yeah,
matters.
well, that's always good to give people the starting points, because reading is high. It's very important to kind of build your knowledge base. And there's so many things out there. With AI, in the internet, you can get all these resources so you can build up. Okay, this is how you do this. You can find a lot of resources. You do a lot of reading. You do a lot of communicating, and you watch podcasts. You go on podcast, you pitch your idea, because now, the way the world is with the podcast, now you've got not just an infomercial, you've got a two-way street where you can do live communication back and forth so people can get like a real authentic picture of what you're trying to do. So I've run into a lot of entrepreneurs that are using podcasting to kind of pitch their ideas and getting support, being able to put out, master classes, and the master classes breed enough money to build a book, and then build a book and the book tour, and then programs, and they can build up from the grassroots their own enterprise because they start using these tools that cause real-time communication with their audience, or whether it's the customer audience or the person who's going to join the master class or buy that widget or buy whatever their service. It just there's a lot of things that you can do that you don't have to wait. You can actually start doing it real time.
Yeah, exactly. It's a like super useful tool. Doing podcasts and starting a podcast and talking about like what is your field and meet new people. It's super valuable. I highly recommend it. Like it's if you want to meet new people, like new connection, and talking about like your field and learning about more, just do it. Podcast is best for learning new things. Best tool for learning new
Yeah, it's
things, I
amazing.
can say. Yeah, if you have a time and like if you can do
Yeah, I mean, if you
consistency.
could show up, I've been able to, what I found from podcasting, and I've talked to other podcasters, we build this Rolodex of like untapped potential. Like, I've done 900 episodes. I've got like a Rolodex with hundreds of names. And out of the blue, somebody I interviewed suddenly says, "Well, you know what? I need some music, or I'd like to come back on, or I'd like to pitch this, or I want to pitch this product on your show." Because I show up and I'm consistent, I get opportunities I didn't even anticipate. I get people like this Mike, a company came and gave it to me because they saw me doing the show. So they just gave it to me for free. And so you get all kinds of opportunities. You get to work with people. You get to pitch products. You get to do things you didn't anticipate doing just because you showed up. You get a name recognition. People realize what you're doing, and then they want to talk to you. And it's a great it's untapped potential that you don't even realize that you can just build this big resource pool of people, and and then information that even AI is going to go and scrape the stuff that we put out, and it just you get all kinds of things happen for you that you wouldn't expect. But thank you again for being on the podcast. I want to mention your website again. It's https // www.pirix.co. If people go to your website, what do they find?
They will find it's like how they can increase their online presence and how can they find product content fit, market fit, and how can define their go-to-market strategy. And I can help them like for PR and like how can they tell product story
That's
also.
great. I want to let people know that that will be fully clickable on the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch that we're live on now. That once we're done, those permanent links will actually make that link clickable. And we also will create a landing page through our podcast partner, Spotify for Podcasts. This will be on 10 other platforms, including Amazon, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, many more. We create a landing page, and people were able to go to whatever version of a podcast that they're familiar with, however they like to watch or listen. And then we will give that to you later today, and you can share that with your audience. So thank you again for being on the Family Electric Ghost podcast. And just remember to stay in the green room for the final recording process. But thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me today.